All right, music fans, welcome back. Harmless Me here, talking real music in real time for real people just like you and just like me. Um, Still, there is fallout from the Grammys and their snub of Eddie Van Halen. Not a complete snub. They did a tribute. It was 15 seconds long or something. And um, they were apparently, according to Ben Winston, when I think of Winston, I think of like 1984. Um, Ben Winston says that they did the best they could. Now, I'm not sure they did the best they could, Winston, but let's review what happened. They tried to get Wolfie to play Eruption. Wolfie said, no, I'm not doing that. They reached out, I guess, to one of his representatives, and negotiations didn't go well there. And I think Wolfie, his reasoning, and it's logic and it's sound reasoning, it's just, hey, I can't do this. I cannot go out there and be my dad. That's impossible. So that's part of this problem, is there's nobody available to do what Eddie Van Halen used to do. So if you send someone out there to do a tribute, right, they're going to fall flat because Eddie was, you know, he was way up here and everybody else is kind of way down there. Now, there may have been a couple of guitar players who could have tried to do it, and I would have respected that depending on who they are. But again, it's a tough thing to do. So maybe what you could have done is put together a montage of quotes from various guitar players, how they were inspired. You put together a little documentary film, maybe 3 minutes, 4 minutes long. I know it's television, and I know there's so much great music to get to, right? It's just an amazing lineup of stuff. I know there was a lot to the In Memoriam segment. And here's something interesting, too. They made this comment about how Ed was the only one who basically was up there honoring himself, which I find that to be completely inadequate too. And here's why. You go to like an event where it's a memorial service for somebody, they typically don't show up at that. Now you may see pictures of them and so forth, but they're not there on video. All right. And it's typically the people who are left behind who are the ones to pay tribute to the one that you lost. So I guess, see, this is a tough position to be in because they know that there's nobody out there that can do Ed like Ed. So they bring Ed back and they say, okay, here's the whole audience. Here, we're introducing you to this guitar player who you've never heard of before. And he's going to get up there and he's going to shred. And by the way, nobody in the audience appreciates the shredding because that's not part of the music scene today. The music scene today is binary code. It's zeros, it's ones, it's digital noise. Go to a stoplight sometime and sit there long enough, and you'll hear digital noise rattling next to you. And you'll think to yourself, what's going on? You know, earthquake? Are we being taken over? Aliens? Nope, that's music. Okay. And I know I sound like the old guy on the front lawn, but if you roll your window down, right, and you hear a guy next to you and guitars are blaring out of his car, you're going to smile. You're going to say, yes, it's an instrument I'm familiar with. Thank you. This again points to something else. There's no cavalry coming. There's no Eddie Van Halen replacement crew that's being raised up through the ranks. There's nobody out there paying their dues in a dive bar somewhere who in 3 or 4 years is going to be on the national scene. And you'll say to me, well, Dave, how do you know that? Because I just do. Because look, if this is the prevailing music, right, that I'm not listening to it, but I know it's out there. If that's the music of the culture right now, that's what's, you know what, it inspires people with Pro Tools and with computers. And they say, I can do this too. So there is a little bit of inspiration. But these aren't musicians. Some of them might be, but some of them might not be. And it's not like you're inspiring guitarists or drummers or bass players or keyboardists or anything. You're just inspiring people to create a system that's slightly different from someone else's system, and then you put it out there and you auto-tune a voice and you put it out there. And that's music today. So there's nobody coming up through the ranks. And the people who are out there who are kind of undiscovered, bubbling under, these blues rock musicians I often talk about, a lot of them have great chops, but they're not going to be on a radio station near you. You're not going to hear anything. You're going to have to go seek it out. It's never going to be mainstream. It's always going to be kind of underground. And you're going to be with your little niche of folks who are sitting back and saying to yourselves, why isn't this person popular? Because that's not the prevailing culture. So the Grammys illustrate a lot of different things. There's a huge problem and there's no solution to it, and nobody really cares about it. Sad to say that, but that's the truth. And it's not going to rectify itself anytime soon. And a proper tribute to Eddie would have been a little documentary film. And by the way, not just with Eruption on it, but I mean, that's the go-to thing because it's a solo, but different guitar riffs, different other solos other than on Eruption. I mean, Van Halen songs that did really well on both the rock and pop charts, those songs had great guitar solos all the time because they have, a great band, and also because they had a great guitarist in that band. And that great guitarist could have been honored in a number of different ways, but I would sample more than just Eruption. That would be something you could do for a couple of minutes, but nobody really appreciates the shredding anymore. They just don't. When I first heard that piece, I'm like, how is he doing that? Nowadays, people are like, what's that noise? So things have changed. And Ben Winston said, hey, we did the best we could. They didn't. But there are much larger problems than just what Ben Winston was saying. I get that nobody can be Ed, but no one's going to be Ed going forward. There's some old time players that are pretty good. And those are the ones you may have been able to get up there to do something, but I still think it would have been short of what Eddie Van Halen deserved. To have Ed represent himself, okay, in memoriam to myself, it's none of it really works. I would have gone with some kind of film with music and then longer than 15 seconds. Should have been the longest one in the whole in memoriam segment because he was one of the best ever. Pretty simple, okay? All right, so I've beaten this into the ground. If you have any comments or questions over on Patreon, that's where I'm at for $1 a month. If you want to sign up, there's a little red logo with the letter P inside of it for Patreon. If you click on that, it'll take you over to Patreon. It's $1 a month if you want to join up. We got patrons over there that like to talk about music. We have patrons that go to concerts and post video content sometimes, or just their little review for the show. You can debate the Eddie stuff and tell me who's better than Ed. And, I'll listen to people. I certainly will. And that's it. So thanks again for watching. And don't forget to subscribe. See you soon.